Cynthia McKinney, there's a lot of trouble in the United States. There are protests, killings by policemen. Maybe you could offer some clarity to what is unfolding in the United States.
Well, of course, I believe it was Angela Davis in her book on incarceration. Of course, her book did not receive the attention and acquire the celebrity that Michelle Alexander's New Jim Crow book received. But Angela Davis wrote a book about mass incarceration probably maybe a decade ago at least now, maybe even longer ago than that. And basically, what she started with the notion of kindling. And of course, anyone who does has a fireplace knows that you start the fire with a little kindling, and then you can build up to the larger logs that will burn for a long time. But the kindling is what gets it all started. And Angela Davis likened the Black community to the kindling for the United States, able to be put alit at any moment. And so therefore, what she did was she looked at mass incarceration as the solution to eliminate the possibility of kindling. What we are witnessing in the United States now is the reality of what Angela Davis wrote at least a decade ago. And that is the situation inside the Black community is one that can be likened to kindling, it able to erupt at any moment. And so now you've got what actually police brutality is not anything new. Police murder is not anything new. But now what is new is that we're able to capture it on video. And then we have the cell phones with the cameras, and then we have the instantaneous live feed on the internet. So with these two technological innovations, we're able to now make police brutality real time. And even if it's not real time, we can make police brutality come inside people's bedrooms, their living rooms, their kitchens, their dinettes, and it comes into their lives. Now, there are some people who still don't want to accept that the situation is as severe as it is. But those are the people who have a vested interest in denial. And they are denying a whole lot of things. They deny U.S. responsibility for the wars and the killing and the destruction that takes place around the world. And quite frankly, it's a way for them to not only deny responsibility, but also for them to avoid any kind of acceptance of an alternative reality that other people are experiencing. So this is not new, and the situation is, and I can say that it's not new because my father was one of the city of Atlanta's first Black police officers in the city of Atlanta, and he would come home literally angry because he had witnessed yet another instance of brutality, some white police officer beating up on a black person, a black civilian. And this is the kind of thing that happened all the time. So unfortunately, this is the situation. And so now we are experiencing this kind of brutality and police murder as a regular occurrence.
I guess this is all, you touched on it and made me think of it. This is all a repercussion of the internet and the instantaneousness of news. I mean, I've been shielded from the black community in America and really unaware that there's a simmering anger.
Yes, I like the way you put that. It's a simmering anger. But this is an anger that's been simmering for a long time. And when I say a long time, I don't mean like like the last 5 years. I mean, it's always there. As long as you find repression and oppression, then you will also find this simmering anger. And that is exactly the situation that we experience now. It's a simmering anger, and it's very real, it's very palpable, and it could erupt at any moment.
So what do you foresee happening? I mean, there's the continuing riots in Charlotte. I think it's in Pennsylvania. But can you foresee what's going to happen, or can you propose a solution?
Well, the solution would be just, to have the powers that be stop the oppression and stop the repression. That's the solution. Now, how do we get to that point? Well, there are many different routes that could be taken. One thing that I recommend is a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I believe that we've just got to put the cards on the table, whatever they are. We've got some work to do in our interpersonal relations. If we could at least get to the point where we accept, yes, we need to emulate I think Guatemala did a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and the South Africans did the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And so if we could, with all of the historical baggage that the United States has, from genocide of the indigenous peoples to human trafficking of the African peoples, to the neoliberalism that's been imposed that literally steals the future and steals the wealth from people. If we could just put these items on the table for discussion, for honest discussion, and say, okay, we don't care what the language is that you use. We understand that it's more important for us to get to the heart of the matter and to allow people to express themselves, even if they don't use exactly the right quote unquote language. And if the hearts can speak, then I think we could move forward in a way that would allow our country to come together. Until such time as we are able to basically, I guess you could say, have our hearts and minds allowed to be free for to explore the things, the solutions that we need to the problems that ail the United States. I don't see that the U.S. is actually going to be able to move forward.
President Obama must have got a lot of support from the African American community, certainly at the time that he was voted in. Do you feel that he is representative or concerned about the status of African Americans?
Well, we would need only look at his policies and look at his record to say, and if we look at the policies, and this is something that I try to talk about and discuss with the African American community in 2008, when I was also on the ballot as a Green Party nominee for president, that the time to walk away from the Democratic Party is now. But I believe that the Barack Obama presidency, the candidacy first and foremost, was a tool used by status quo powers in order to trick the African American community into remaining loyal to the Democratic Party, not because of its policy positions, but because they had just merely tapped a black man in order to become the president. And so what we have seen is this cynical manipulation of the African American community to and convince them to have my back, which in and of itself is an insult as far as I'm concerned, because have my back, which is what the Obama administration used to, some of the messaging that was sent out from the Obama administration to the African American community was to watch my back, have my back, and having nothing to do with policy. And so, we only have should have the backs of incumbent representatives who actually and truly represent us. And that is in terms of the policy positions that they take. The Obama administration, starting from its tenure in the U.S. Senate, when it did nothing to foreclose the financial crisis, when all it had to do was to write one sentence in the bailout legislation subjecting the companies that receive bailout money to independent audits, I think things would have been vastly different. So there has been this abdication of responsibility, even for those who voted for it, but there has not been an abdication by the African American community for its love of the Obama administration, and for that reason, they continue to be, as Malcolm X said, political chumps.
Okay, perhaps to just finish off, you could give us a comment on the current electioneering going on between.
Well, yes, and I have adopted this strategy of ABC, anybody but Clinton, because I think it has become extremely clear to more and more people in the United States that we really don't have a stake in the current political power configuration. We don't have a stake in the status quo politics. We have been led to believe, we the voters of the U.S. have been led to believe that it is of dire consequence that we participate and that we reelect Hillary Clinton. But as far as I'm concerned, Hillary Clinton is exactly the opposite of what any Democratic voter could possibly want. And so therefore, in terms of policy positions, I'm not talking about personality, although I think she fails in that regard as well, but certainly in terms of policy positions. And this is just looking at Hillary Clinton's track record. Now, the Trump campaign began by questioning the usefulness or the efficacy of NATO, the usefulness of these wars, and was making sounds that seemed to suggest a different direction in terms of policy for the U.S. Unfortunately, it was these nuggets were wrapped in the garb of Islamophobia, xenophobia, and sort of incendiary hate talk. Nonetheless, because he appeared to be shooting from the hip, and this is juxtaposed to Hillary Clinton's extreme scriptedness, people seem to like that. But now what has happened with the Trump campaign is that it too has been swarmed by these neocon type personalities that if the candidate isn't careful, would be able to persuade the candidate of a different policy direction. So that is somewhat frightening to watch as this neocon, neoliberal swarm takes place around the Trump candidacy. But the ABC that I advocate, basically what I would hope is that people would cast their vote for the third party candidates. That would be the Libertarian Party and the Green Party, such that you would get enough votes out of the Libertarian Party. The Libertarians are looking to get 10 to 12%. And since Gary Johnson had his oops moment with the what is Aleppo question, maybe that might dip somewhat. But the Libertarian strategy was to was to secure enough votes to throw the election to the House of Representatives. And I found this quite intriguing. So I began to contemplate ways in which we could implode the system, just totally, I don't want to use incendiary talk, but it demonstrates that the vast numbers of people voting in the U.S. have no stake in the current system, and therefore participate overwhelmingly, but participate in ways in which that power configuration does not want the participation to be expressed. And first and foremost, that is with the alternative, the Green Party, Libertarian Party. And the Green Party strategy is to get 5% of the vote. I would be supportive of that. In addition, I think that Trump needs to acquire enough votes to deny the electoral college vote to Hillary Clinton. So we could really have some constitutional drama. And I think that would be the beginning of a kind of change, but that would be desired by the voters. But unfortunately, if we, the alternatives, don't come together in some kind of cogent, consistent policy mechanism, then it will all be for naught. We've got to come together, whether it's Clinton voter, anti-Clinton voter, alternative party voter, and say, okay, these are our must-haves, like as was done under the Ron Paul, when in 2008, when I was running, all of the alternative political parties came together and said, okay, there's some things that we agree on. We agree on the need for the Federal Reserve to be either eliminated or audited. We need to end the wars. We need to refocus on our budgetary priorities. So there are things that we can agree on, and that's what we need to focus on if we are able to deny Hillary Clinton the electoral college votes to win.
Well, we shall see. You've been you've been giving us a lot of original ideas to think of. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Morris.